We got it set up right.
Okay, and we're off.
We're
Yes,
off.
yes, the cat needs attention. So, oops, did I hit record?
I think I saw it pop up.
Oh, yeah, there it is. They moved it. It's recording. Okay, so we are looking at Milo. Any
Yes.
comments, questions you want to start with?
I just want you to evaluate the change.
Okay.
I think you're going to see a change if you remember kind of like what he was struggling with when
Oh,
you
I
were here.
remember.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that one was hard to forget. So, have you been riding and doing long reins or
Nope,
mo
just long lining.
Okay. Chug a chug.
Yeah, I see a big change.
Oh, yes. I already see the change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the slowness is absolutely what I would expect.
He did that. That was his choice. He kind of thinks through every movement now.
Yes, because basically he was rotating his pelvis and lumbar in order to swing the hind legs forward.
Right. Now
And
he's stepping through. It's
so
just
now,
amazing.
yeah, if I look, there's still a little bit of roly-poly left to right across the pelvis,
Hmm.
but the lumbar looks more stable. But
Right.
it doesn't like before when it's muscularly tight, you get how do I want to say this? You can see the tightness as a still spot, but everything around it is moving.
Hmm. Okay.
And so now what I'm seeing and what didn't move were the leg joints. So
Right.
the leg joints were really stiff. He looked camped under, he looked sickle hocked, and the joints
Hmm.
weren't working when he was swinging the leg forward. All of the movement was originating through the rotation of the spine and probably the lumbar sacrum and pelvis, all excessively rotating and kind of swinging his body to one side to bring
Right.
the hind leg forward. And now what I see is there's more stability across the top of the pelvis. It's still loose, like there's too much mobility,
I
but
yeah.
not,
Yeah.
but it's much better. And as that muscle tightness is releasing and the bones are stabilizing up top, that really slow walk is where he's actually swinging the leg forward from the hip joint. And that's going to cause more mobility in the stifle, the hock, everything below it.
Yeah.
And
So now
so,
instead of those big clunks of him falling out,
mhm,
it's a minor little, and see, he slows down when he knows
yeah,
he's in
there it
trouble.
was.
Yeah. When he knows it's coming, he intentionally slows down to go, okay, what do I need to do again?
Yeah, because when he's going really slow and he's actually placing the legs forward better, those little gives, like he just had two of them,
Yep.
those little gives are the change of the increased mobility through, I would say, the hip and stifle.
Yeah.
And you
I'm
can really see when the sun hits it just right, which is not this side. We'll see if he comes around again. You can see the tight bands of muscle near
right.
the stifle. And
And that's
so,
where he's popping now, for lack of a better term.
yeah,
That's where it's not up in his hip and he's falling out. It's more of a stifle thing.
yeah. And that's going to be as the hip increases mobility, the stifle increases mobility, then you may get more little gives through the hocks.
Ah, okay.
But that stability, like when he's going this slow and the tail swishing is part of that muscular change that's
Yeah, because
happening.
what he used to do is just hold it up and he'd have little wrinkles above his tail, like all that stress.
Yeah, that's the isometric holding.
Yeah.
So the more mobile the lumbar sacrum and pelvis become, the more unstable the bones become, the more the muscles supporting them have to shorten and tighten and hold isometrically. And that's what made him look so slopey in the hindquarter
Hmm.
and kind of like camped under with his legs, all of that is, and then all the joints of the legs locking. So you get this sort of like lack of elastic movement through the legs.
Hmm.
And what I'm seeing now, and if you kind of watch, you know where we usually put tape. So here, like on the tubercocci,
Hmm.
that's sort of where it's the most obvious to me that it's not moving as much as it was.
Okay. I'll
So
have to
that,
look more at that than other
yeah,
places.
so if you kind of look at the pelvic bones between like the pointy bit on the back of the hind leg to
Right?
the tubercocci, even up to the tuber sacrali, it's like the leg is now organizing around that tubercocci instead of the tubercocci moving with stiff legs.
Okay.
Does that make sense? There's still a
Yeah.
little bit of rolling side to side.
There's a little instability there still.
Hmm. But he's starting to actually like push off the ground with his hind feet rather than sort of muscularly pull those hind legs forward.
Right.
That's the difference I see. And as he slows down, instead
Mm.
of the whole leg collapsing, which, wasn't painful for him,
No, it wasn't.
and it's part of restoring the functionality. I guess it makes sense because when the axial skeleton becomes more stable, all those muscles instantly change tone. The
Yeah.
second all those muscles change tone, the joints start to increase mobility. So in the front legs, we see it as shoulder clunks and fumbly
Hmm.
footed and don't know where my feet go. And it's really the same process in the hind legs, but I think it it's almost more delicate in the hindquarters because those joints and that whole area of the body has to control body weight from falling forward, plus generate forward motion, but also stabilize forward motion. And it's the engine. So it's like if the engine isn't working right, um, the compensation patterns can be crazy,
Right.
crazy and unpredictable. So I think you've made a massive breakthrough with him,
I do
tran
too.
transitioning that origin of stability from the hind legs back up to the lumbar sacrum and pelvis. And it's still a work in progress, but he's not fighting you on it. His ears are half turned back the entire time. He is really like
Oh,
thinking
he is,
hard.
thinking real hard. And when it does that, if you watch, if you can find when he kind of does that little pop, you can actually see him bring his leg out
Mm.
and come around instead of capping under. It's
He
usually right
widens it.
here.
Yeah,
He
right there.
widens
He
it. He
just
right there.
widened it.
See what he does?
Hmm.
Look at that step. So that was incredible that he figured that out.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the power of the long reins on the circle. And when I worked with him when I was there, it was a ton of resistance to get that
Hmm.
sideward step of the hindquarters, but that really is the key because once the midline becomes unstable and they're just holding isometrically, it also that shortening contraction around the spine and pelvis is what creates an inward pull on the legs. So you get a narrowness between the hind legs and a narrowness between the front legs because everything's shortening and pulling the body inward towards the center.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so when you just, even though it's not, theoretically a perfect step on a circle, when you're pulling the hindquarters in on the circle,
Right.
it still pulls on that tightness by widening the leg stance. And that wider leg stance stabilizes the pelvis and sacrum, and then they push forward from there.
Yeah. That's what he figured out
Hmm.
after working with you. I think that session that you had with him was so intense.
Very
But
intense.
but
Right.
it educated him.
But
He
he
didn't.
needed the breakthrough. And this is what
Yeah,
I find
yeah.
is if we don't give some horses enough resistance in the aids, they're not going
Mm,
to figure it out. It's
And he was at a
just
mental place to accept that.
he was physically prepared. And
Yeah,
so there's a time and a place. You can't just always tuck in that much that soon.
right.
But at a certain point, he didn't get here and he's not stuck here because his body is pliable and balanced, right? So the more, and I find particularly when the issue is around the low back and hindquarters, that takes some firmness to get a change sometimes because those are big ass muscles. I mean,
They can overtake and dysfunction easily.
and they just get stuck there.
Yeah,
And because everything is so powerful and dense and tight and big in that area of their body, you can't be afraid of being firm to get the change. And
yeah. I think
that's
that's
the
it.
tricky part is we tend to either be constantly firm or constantly light. And
Mm,
it's like until you know really how to watch, and that's where the value was putting tape on the pelvic points,
right.
is to see, oh, that great big heavy correction just totally changed the alignment of the pelvis and stabilized the top line so that the legs could figure out a different flight path,
Yeah.
a
Right
different
there. He
use.
just really is thinking about it. Like
That's
how,
probably his best step in the entire video.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
very, I mean, this is like physical therapy. It's not fast to change coordination. It has to be delicate, thoughtful, with conscious awareness, and he's showing all of that.
Oh yeah. And I wasn't slowing him down. This was all his idea.
Hmm.
I was just giving him, let's say, real strong support.
Yeah. And that's why it's important to let them choose the speed because he feels it. And you can even tell, you now observe that he knows when it's coming.
He does.
Yeah, and he slows down. And it's, but that really, really slow step, I'll let the video play through again. But it's like on that side, maybe because there's a little incline.
There is a decline, actually, an incline and a decline. So he's
Yeah.
coming to the
So right there
decline.
at the top of the incline
Hmm.
is where he has his best steps. And
Right.
then as he goes down the little decline, he goes very slowly and carefully and keeps it together. And then
That's what is amazing to me is that there was the little clunk again and
Mhm.
he moved through it. Because what
Yeah,
his habit was the clunk and then he just stopped. But
yeah, and
now he's kind of figured out it's coming, but maybe I have another option.
no, it's just less severe. And so
Okay.
in the beginning, like basically when horses are getting stuck at halt, what that tells me is the change they're going through in the use of the core muscles, in the axial skeleton, in the deepest part of the body we can't see, right? The halting all the time just lets me know that how difficult it is for the horse. That's why I'm patient with the halt, right? I'm
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
get after them. And I don't, it's a little bit of a do not disturb sign because they're going, this is
Good way.
hard. This is uncomfortable. And so if I pressure him or leverage him through it, I'm just going to get a different version of the
Of the
same
problem.
dysfunction or something.
It's the same with people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like you can't force the body to make a change if the body's tightening and protecting against it.
right.
So we have to be patient with the halt phase because that's usually where the biggest changes are taking place. But we
Right.
can't see them. So we just go, oh, he's being lazy. And it's not. He went from never really slowing down to completely losing
Exactly.
forward. And that's typical, 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 typical. That when we change coordination, that pendulum swings from too much forward to not enough all the time. And then these slow, thoughtful steps are now he's comfortable enough that he's not getting stuck at halt. So he can start to move through as the coordination is changing. So what that tells you is even though you don't see a lot of outward signs of progress, there's huge progress in the muscles and the body supporting the core, the axial skeleton and the core. And he's getting comfortable enough that even when the joints have a little extra give, because they're restoring mobility, it doesn't bother him and he can keep walking for the most
Hmm.
part.
Yeah.
So that really tells you he's more comfortable, even though this looks slow and difficult. And you look at him and you go, he can't be that comfortable, but he is. It's a manageable level of discomfort, and he's changing the coordination pretty much at the top of that little incline every time
Yeah,
is
it's
where his
almost at the
best
exact
steps.
same spot
Hmm.
every time. But yeah, it's progressively been getting to this, which has been
Hmm.
awesome.
Yeah, and those really slow, careful steps are where I see the pelvis move the least and the leg move from the hip joint the most. And it's like it's a total rearrangement of his coordination. And so it's hard. It's hard for
Right.
him, but he's figuring it out.
That's what I see is he's really on it. He's really thinking.
And it's once you kind of cross that threshold, like the hard part when I was there and had to give him a firm enough feel to get the change I was looking for once, and that probably made him, he resisted it a lot. He didn't really go into a stress response, but he was right on the edge of a stress response. He was in that not too sure zone. But I know sometimes if I can help facilitate the change I'm looking for, ultimately, better mechanical use is always going to be more comfortable. The tricky part is getting from the dysfunction to the ideal mechanical use because in that space, there's going to be discomfort. There's going to be some struggle. So, how much is acceptable? The horse has to kind of tell us. Oh, you disappeared. Hang on, I don't know why, but let me pause that. Let me stop the share. Yep, Deb disappeared. I don't know where you went, but let me pause the recording and we'll get our act together here. Okay, now we're back.
We're back.
That took a minute.
A minute.
Okay, let me share the screen. So, from everything we talked about, what do you,
I'm excited.
yeah,
I'm really excited. I'm almost thinking, that I would feel okay getting on him pretty soon.
yeah, you're not as worried.
I'm not as worried about that dropping. He's finally figured out now. I guess maybe when you come, we'll decide is he ready to figure that out with a rider on his back.
Yeah, because, and
I don't,
you never know until you try. Some
right.
horses, so he might say, no way, I can't handle it. It's too much. Or he might go, wow, your weight and your stability is exactly what I
Well,
needed.
we'll check it out. If I
Hmm.
check, I might check it out sooner, but we'll see. But maybe at least when you're here, we will take a look and see if he's ready.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that like this nose on the ground long and low too. I would not have been surprised if he stayed there a long time, but as he's changing the use of the hindquarter and the low back, he's not putting his nose on the ground as often as he used to,
Not at
which
all.
which I
No.
think is interesting because what
Yes.
that shows, he's using his neck a little bit, like he's shortening
I
the neck
think he is. I
now
agree.
and
He's
again.
bracing a little bit there to try to figure out his hind end, is what I
Yes.
see.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when he lengthens the neck, he's lengthening it less, but sort of with more control.
Okay.
And so what that is telling us is when he can get his nose off the ground and the neck is straightening out and long, that he's starting to control his own body weight from falling forward.
Okay.
So already as sort of precarious and slow and awkward as the hindquarter looks right now, let's see if he does it. So, yeah,
That's
like
another
there,
thing he's doing is kicking up at flies on his belly. He's never been able to do that.
or I think some horses do that. Sometimes it's flies, but I think sometimes they do that to kind of like wake up the joints.
Maybe because that
It's,
just
mhm,
started.
yeah.
That's new.
No, that's something I see a lot is
Okay.
when the hip and stifle in particular start sort of increasing their natural mobility again, they hike their leg up like they do
Yeah,
these
that's all
extra
new.
bends.
Hmm.
And it might be just to kind of get the ligaments more comfortable or to just kind of reset things. But lots and lots of horses do that when you start to
Okay.
change the use of the hindquarters. And then the front legs, they'll do Spanish walk steps, they'll drag their toes, they'll look fumbly footed, but you have to get the weight off the front end for the front legs to change. And
Right.
so the hindquarter, like he's keeping his neck long enough that when he's not falling in long and low, he's also, as he's restoring the function to the hindquarters, it's already starting to help him manage his own body weight better. And I
Right.
just find that amazing. Like,
I've just been so impressed with his progress. I mean,
mhm.
every time I long line him, he gets better and better.
Yeah, he's definitely cracked through. He just didn't know.
He
Like
didn't know.
like
Right.
the way he was using and you said he had been injected a ton, like
Uh,
SI injections,
Everything.
Hock
Hawks,
injections,
stifles,
stifles, yeah.
SI, hips.
Yeah, and so all of that is because the lumbar, sacrum, and pelvis moved too much.
Right.
So the joints, like finding stability is an unconscious, deep instinct. The body doesn't like to fall. And so stability has to be found somewhere. And if it's not in, well, you and I talk about this all the time. If it's
Right.
not in the right places, like the axial skeleton, then the appendicular skeleton is going to fill that role.
Exactly. And
And we
that's
keep injecting
unfortunately,
joints, and it's
yeah,
like
that's what
it's
I was
not the
going to say.
joints.
That's not the problem.
It's
It's movement problems.
it's too much movement where he should be stable is causing too little movement where he should
Right.
be mobile. Yeah, but this is absolutely 100% different use of his
Okay.
lumbar, sacrum, and pelvis. And it's a little tweeners, so it's just a little bit shaky, but
Right.
he's figuring it out. So at this point, the long reins don't look heavy. I'm sure
He's not
they're,
too bad. He's not
yeah,
too bad at this point.
yeah, you're not having to make those really big,
Huge
heavy
corrections
corrections.
anymore. No,
Yeah,
not anymore.
it's a much lighter guidance, but he still needs the guidance. And then when we ride, just understanding rotation and alignment of the spine, basically you become the long reins.
Okay.
And so it makes, like I just got on Guinness, who's only been long reining, who is lame on all four legs, and I wasn't sure how he was going to respond to having a person on him again, right? And just the few steps we did, it was like the penny dropped. He instantly
Ah,
got it because he loves the long reins. They have helped him a ton. And he was like, "Oh, this is the same feeling, but now the rider's on my back." So he just kind of relaxed and wasn't the same anxious,
oh,
fast,
good.
uncontrollable horse that he was before. Yeah, and with Milo, he might love having you on him
Right.
because he doesn't look uncomfortable. It looks like he's being careful
He's very careful and thoughtful at this
because
point.
because it's hard for him to keep the lumbar, sacrum, and pelvis stable.
Right.
That's the hard part. And he probably doesn't have the core muscle support. It's kind of strengthening as he's in this little back and forth phase.
Right.
But yeah, that's a total change of use in his
No
hindquarter.
kidding.
Hmm.
It's amazing.
And you can really start to see the difference. So, like when we say we want a swinging back, I go, here's your result. The back is swinging too much. It's not a
Mm.
literal thing. And so you get that camped under, sickle hocked look, joint irritations, joint arthritis. And the whole problem is the back is moving too
Right.
much, right? And I wish we would change that from a swinging back to swinging movement. I go, we all want swinging movement, right? And that's the beginning of what you're seeing. Like right there, the leg comes forward from the hip joint more than there, the spine,
Right.
right? And then the joints become more mobile. So you get these little gives, you get these little extra changes in mobility. Yeah. And even there where he's halting, it's like he's still processing in his
Oh,
nervous
big
system
time.
this new way of bringing his own hind legs forward.
Yeah. And he's clear about it. You know what I mean? He's like, "Oh, this is the new way is a good way.
Yeah.
It feels better."
And that's the power. Like I don't know
No
how it is.
kidding.
I don't know how it is for you with like human clients, but I find with horses, the second it even smells like mechanically correct movement, they latch on to it if it's even comfortable enough to work through. Like horses just recognize that better mechanical use is what they want. And I think with people, when I work with riders, there's another layer.
There is another layer.
And
There's the right, wrong layer.
the unfamiliar, like this can't,
Unfamiliar. We're not as good with unfamiliar as horses can be.
right. Right. I guess our
Yeah.
brains have a lot more power of prediction. And it's like when you take away the brain's ability to predict, it's disturbing. But with horses, they're like, oh,
No, they
this
live
is
in
this is
the now.
tricky. This is a little uncomfortable, but there's something better about it.
Yeah.
And
They
they
don't
just
they don't
change.
really question it. Yeah. Like
Hmm.
we do.
Yeah. And that's exactly like he is figuring out, as difficult as this is for him, that this change of use in how he brings his hind legs forward is beneficial to him.
Right.
And I go, that's the power of understanding mechanics.
Right.
And
But
horses
and I
go
also
there.
think they have to get to a place mentally, trust, whatever you want to call it, that they're like, okay, I can take a look at this.
Yes. And not only that, but because when we're working, like what you're doing with the long reins is really only feeling his weight shifts between his left half and his right half. And then the circle is sort of helping him place the hind legs in new
Mm-hmm.
ways, change the flight path.
Right.
But just feeling the weight distribution left to right between the long reins, we're working with the forces of motion, but giving him the space to figure out the coordination.
Right.
And that is what was my choo-choo train of thought kind of derailed. What was I going to say about that? I think it's that, oh, never mind. It's that equilibrium or something that allows him. I know what I was going to say. That weight distribution changes the coordination, right?
Right.
And we get these, like you see, the little gives in the joints and often spontaneous chiropractic adjustments. Like I
Mm-hmm.
hear them, right?
Right.
And that will scare horses initially. Like
I
when I,
had, yeah, I've got a new horse that I'm working with. I think I've long lined her 5 or 6 times, and she had a huge adjustment in her shoulder and she freaked out,
yeah, it spooked her.
spooked her. She was
Yeah,
like, I'm not used to that.
exactly. So that's the tricky part. Or when I'm doing more severe rehab cases, I've had it happen where there's a spontaneous chiropractic adjustment in the spine itself,
Wow.
and I'll feel it under the saddle. I'll hear it like a little crack. And some horses either stop and freeze, some horses freak out, and other horses just need a moment and then they're like, okay, I'm good. But usually, when you're in the early stages of the rehab process, like that's what I was waiting for with Guinness on the long reins,
Right.
was some of his adjustments, he would just spook at nothing, right?
Yeah.
And that's
And
usually
that's what this mare is doing. She's
yes.
finding things to spook at.
Well, and once they cross that threshold into their first taste of even muscular tension release, then they go, oh, okay, these clunks and adjustments and all that, they don't hurt. They feel weird, but they don't hurt.
Right.
If it does create a pain issue, then no matter how long you've been working with the horse, you can tell a pain issue because you get a stress response. But
Okay.
if it happens in the beginning, sometimes it's just because they didn't
They're not
expect it.
used to it.
They're
Yeah.
not used to it. But they usually will feel physical relief from it.
I think she did
And
once she
so,
finally wound herself down.
yeah, and then once they start to realize that that weird little adjustment brought relief, and I see the same thing with osteopaths and chiropractors. Not every horse responds to the treatment the same way.
Exactly.
And some horses it scares them, and some horses it
Right.
just brings them instant relief. So it's kind of the same. This is like slow motion body work. Um, so
Yeah, I'm
when,
real happy. I'm real happy with where he's at right now.
me too.
Yeah, he's
And
quite
you
the nice
have,
horse,
like, you have the option to just keep going on the long reins or have a little sit on him, maybe bareback,
right?
and see what he says about you just sitting on his back. And if it's a big hard no, then continue with the long reins. And if
Right?
he lets you get up there and walks off the mounting block, okay, less than a 5-minute ride, will tell you whether it's helpful to him or
Okay, or not,
not
or if
time yet.
not
Mhm.
time yet. Yeah, he's just doing so good. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
That
No,
was
and
a
I
good.
love the tail going crazy because
Yeah, I didn't notice that until
yeah.
the video because I
Hmm.
was I was videoing and longlining at the same time.
Oh,
It's
well
like,
done.
yeah, I'm holding the camera in while I'm longlining. So
That's
that's
hilarious.
that's why it's not a very long video. It's like I can't do this very long.
Right. No, 5 minutes feels like forever when you're
Yeah.
holding the camera up yourself.
So yeah. Okay.
But yeah, all right, let me stop this share. Oops. Hello, Lily. Anything else?
No, I just wanted to see if you saw what I saw
I
with
do.
him. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like that is a massive change.
Yeah.
And it's such a big deal, I find, when it is low back and hindquarter. Probably the same
That's
for
a good
people.
point.
It's just such
There's
a
a
big
yeah,
deal.
with people, especially women, there's a lot of emotions wound up in that area too.
Oh,
I don't
interesting.
I don't know if is with horses.
That might have been why he was like right on the edge when I pushed him to
Mm-hmm.
really find his hip joint. Um, yeah, that could have been his big emotional release was right up front.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you're trying to change somebody's idea location of where stability really is,
Yeah,
that
it's disorienting to make that change.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I know it is for horses as well as people. It's just horses
right.
tend to work through it faster.
I think they do. I think
Hmm.
they're much more accepting.
Yeah, they get a little sneaky peek and the penny drops and they go, "Oh." That's not
Yeah.
the worst idea I ever heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't think they think, is this right or is this wrong? They don't
No, they
think
don't.
that. They don't.
Mm-mm.
And that's usually the first response I get from people. Is this right? It's like, that doesn't matter.
Oh, interesting.
That's not in the equation for me.
Yeah, horses are pretty binary. I like it,
Yeah.
I don't like it. I
It
like it, I
either
don't like
works,
it.
yeah, or in the moment, or it doesn't work in the moment. And that's another thing. Being in the moment, the horses have that higher quality than us
Yes.
because we're either, for us, just being in the moment's the
We're
hardest
just
thing to do.
because we're so complicated.
Yeah. So, anyway,
Anyway.
thank you. Thank you.
Let me stop the record.